So welcome Alex Vetsky. Yes, he will give a motivational talk also about.
Thank you. Am I going to need this? Can everyone hear me through this? Okay, cool.
Sorry.
It's okay. All right. I'm not going to be too motivational. I'm actually going to be anti-motivational. Just as a show of hands quickly before I begin, who was at the Adopting Bitcoin conference over the last couple of days? We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, Jesus, only 4 people. Okay, so next question as a pre-frame. Who's either followed me on Twitter or seen me speak before? Anyone? Okay, a few people. All right, that's good. So I was asked by Rodolfo to give a talk about how Bitcoin is a revolution, and I said, look, it's more of an evolution. We started getting into the discussion, and I got a bit too busy to put together a talk until last night, and I quickly whipped one up, which was to do with the fact that Bitcoin is evolutionary in nature, not just revolutionary, but the essence of the topic that came to mind was that Bitcoin is inevitable. And the theme that comes to mind when I say that is Agent Smith in The Matrix saying to Neo, it's inevitable. So what I'd like to get across, I've only got 10, 15 minutes, so I'll be really sharp on this, but is one small nuance around how to perceive Bitcoin, particularly from, well, not even particularly, but from whether you're an individual, a corporate, a group, or a government, a state, whatever you want to sort of classify yourself as. So, this was me last night asking my ancestors for guidance. They didn't give me anything. But let's look just quickly, first of all, let's just define what money is. A lot of people think money is gold, or it's paper, or it's, they use the thing, or it's a medium of exchange, or all this sort of stuff. The way I like to help people understand this is you need to think about money as a metaphysical concept. Money has existed from the beginning of time in relationship to human beings, and it'll exist until the end of time. We will always need a mechanism between us, or we need a tool or a technology that enables us to measure or encode the product of our labor, and the constituents of that is time, energy, natural resources. And then that mechanism needs to solve the problem of intersubjective value, meaning that we're all different. We all value everything differently. We all have different needs and wants and desires and time preferences and everything. So the technology that binds all of that together is the thing called money. And it's come in many forms since the beginning of time to now. A lot of people think barter actually was the original money. And as you'll note, it's not even up here. Barter is bullshit. It was never money. It's very rarely used as money. Money is a technology that enables complexity amongst human beings. Barter doesn't enable complexity. It's actually fails as soon as you get more than 5 or 6 people who want different things. So really, money started as promises, and it was a memory. It was, if you go and kill the animal, and I'll pick the berries, you clean the cave. We kind of remembered what each of us were doing, so that we had some sort of like a notion of work that had been done that we should kind of implicitly trade later. And in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but the first cave wall inscriptions were actually to do with accounts. It was a ledger, and here we are, obviously tens of thousands of years later, with another ledger in the form of Bitcoin. So that's really what money is. And then we realized that we needed to get out of the cave. We needed to interact with other people, so we moved into rocks and shells and precious metals and coinage, and all of you guys have probably seen this 100 times now. And along the way, we've tried to, the journey of humanity, in many ways, has been a journey into discovering a better mechanism for us to encode or store the product of our labor so that we can cooperate and build complexity in society. That's really been the function of society from the beginning. And I believe now that we've reached an apex moment in Bitcoin. Like, all the other stuff is fiat. All the other stuff is a mechanism of someone issuing money and detaching it from what it metaphysically represents. So for me, I'll show a chart next in a minute, but basically, Bitcoin is perfect across all dimensions. And I'll define this really quickly. A store of value is not defined about how much US dollars this thing, holds, or the fact that it's going up in US dollar terms. Store of value just means knowing your proportion in relation to the whole. That's all it means. So a pizza can be a store of value. If you hold 1/8 of the pizza and you know how much the pizza is, you can store your value in that piece of pizza. So it's it's an equation of proportionality. Bitcoin is perfect. It's the only thing that's perfect. And it's not just perfect because it has a fixed supply cap. It's perfect because it has a fixed supply cap that is unchangeable by any institution, organization, group, or anything. It's too late to turn that wheel back. So that's why it's actually perfect. Medium of exchange means the capacity for two people to trade. And this is what a lot of people get wrong. They think medium of exchange means transactional throughput. It's got nothing to do with that. Medium of exchange just means my ability to pick someone and exchange without requiring permission from somebody else. And again, Bitcoin is perfect in that. You do not need permission from anybody to move Bitcoin from one UTXO set to another. And it happens irrespective of who you are, where you are, what time it is, what color your skin is, what government, what country. Doesn't give a shit. It just goes through. And then the unit of account. This is sort of related to the store of value element. And unit of account is a phenomenon that occurs once there is enough people using a form of money in the marketplace such that they measure everything else. Now, what will be beautiful about Bitcoin long term as the whole world moves on to Bitcoin and catches up, now this is a multi-decade phenomenon, is that we actually know, nominally speaking at least, we know how much Bitcoin there roughly is. And as a result, we can actually start to accurately and intelligently measure all other goods and services against it. And the fact that it's digital and divisible means that it will make the problem that fiat and gold had, for example, that they're not very divisible, it solves that by being digital. So again, it's a perfect unit of account. So money is winner takes all. It's a communication medium, again, and the communication that it represents is time and energy. So that will converge to unity. That's how these kind of network effects work. Basis of complex society, it's thermodynamically, probabilistically sound, it's organically emergent, meaning it wasn't issued by some institution, organization, or a foundation, or a group and marketed as the next big crypto. It went into the market and it grew when nobody expected any of this sort of shit to work. It was the 0 to 1 moment, and the path-dependent nature of Bitcoin's emergence is something that can't be repeated. You can go back and you can copy the code, you can do this, you can do that, you can do all sorts of stuff that all the shitcoins basically are doing. But what you can't do is you can't turn the clock back 12, 13 years and reintroduce something like Bitcoin at that time, in that way, adopted by those people, with those principles, with a founder that disappeared and that grew organically in the marketplace. That is, I guess the best way to think about it is like it's an immaculate conception. Not going to happen again. And then finally here I've got like the map represents the territory, which is effectively the first time we've had that. Like money being this metaphysical idea that enables us to cooperate better on the physical realm, but there's always been they've never mapped very well between each other. So we've always had this loss of information in between. Like if somebody can print money while you and I work for money and trade resources or time or energy, then you have a skewing of the signal and the money doesn't actually function properly. But when you can't skew that signal, the metaphysical nature of money actually represents the physical reality, and that's something that's never existed before. So this is the visual representation of what I discussed earlier. The only thing that Bitcoin sucks at is being a mechanism of control and parasitism, which is effectively what modern money is evolving into. The three core functions of money were supposed to be store of value, means of exchange, and unit of account, but governments and their attempt to introduce their own money, particularly all this craziness around CBDCs and all the shitcoins that want to be the new version of CBDC, they just effectively want to be issued by someone so that they can tell you what to do with your money and your time and your effort and the product of your labor. So with that pre-frame, so I've got 5 minutes to go, I just want to posit something, which is Bitcoin is inevitable, and in fact, it's inevitable in two ways. It was inevitable in the sense that an intelligent, sentient species was going to have to discover what I like to call energy money at some point. Otherwise, it's going to blow itself up, wipe itself out, press the red button, turn itself into a authoritarian gulag. All of that shit is basically the specter, or it's the possibility if energy money is not discovered. And in a way, if you look at our path from the beginning of civilization, it has been this process of discovering functional money so that we can cooperate as human beings. So in that sense, Bitcoin was inevitable. I think if there is aliens out there or whatever the case might be, they would discover their own version of energy money, and the architecture and the way it functions would probably be very similar to Bitcoin. So in that sense, it's inevitable. But in the next sense of its inevitability is the fact that Bitcoin will be the money that this planet uses. And you either get involved now, or you just wait and you get involved later. That's the only option you really have as an individual, as an organization, or as a government. It's like thinking that you're going to regulate Bitcoin or ban Bitcoin or change Bitcoin and thinking that you are somehow superior or the laws of physics don't apply to you is about as dumb as thinking that a government is going to ban the number 0, or ban a particular letter, or ban the law of gravity. You jump off a cliff and you pretend like there's no gravity until you smash on the bottom and blow up like a watermelon. So Bitcoin is going to happen. The question is, and this is really the only question, is what are you going to adjust and adapt about yourself in order to take advantage of Bitcoin? When we built airplanes, we took the physical reality of gravity and aerodynamics, and we built with that in mind so that we could actually fly and use gravity and aerodynamics to move. We didn't pretend there was no gravity or no air and just jump off the side of a fucking cliff like Icarus, right? That's stupid. So Bitcoin is going to exist whether governments like it or not. Them pretending like it won't exist or them trying to ban it is cutting off their own nose to spite their face. It's absolute stupidity. So it's kind of similar, I've got a note here, it's similar to the cultures and countries who first embraced math and science. That's really why they moved ahead. They were able to transform their understanding of math and science into technologies that allowed them to prosper. They didn't ignore the stuff and pretend like it didn't exist. And that's what put them on top. So this is really like, if there's any officials and shit in here, whoever's going to be watching this, that's how you want to think about Bitcoin, is you want to get the hell out of the way. Don't think you can regulate it. Don't think you can control it. This is not just some shitcoin that got issued by someone. This is literally energy money. You don't control energy money in the same way as you don't control the fucking sun when it comes up, when it comes down. You use the sun to your advantage because you understand that it abides by not human laws, but by the physical laws of the universe. And that's that little frame that I hope everybody can sort of flip. And this is an example. I've got like a couple minutes left really quickly. This is from an old article that I did called Bitcoins and Lockdowns in 2019, or 2020, sorry. And it's just a new way of thinking about Bitcoin's adoption curve, that it's not going to occur so much as a function of price or any of that sort of stuff. It's going to occur as a function of moving from the luxury, I'm on this side, the luxury side of the spectrum into the necessity side of the spectrum. So at the moment, everyone here is, in a sense, lucky enough to have the luxury coming into Bitcoin, to want Bitcoin. And that's an incredible advantage because Bitcoin is mispriced. Not everybody has reached the point of need yet. But as things get more and more stupid, whether it's from a government level, from a central bank level, whether it's printing money, whether it's stupid taxations, whether it's stupid mandates, whether it's this sort of UBI/CBDC dream of governments where they can issue you money, they can give you a little bit, which what that does is it actually turns you into a pet, because when someone gives you something for free, they effectively own you. And then they come with some conditions around what you can and cannot say, what you can and cannot think, etc. Like that kind of reality, as we move into that, we have this reality of slave money versus freedom money. And that's really the way you want to think about Bitcoin versus everything else. All crypto, all fiat, all of that stuff is in the same bucket of slave money because it's issued by someone. It is no different in philosophy or in essence than what Bitcoin emerged to fight against. So in the last bits and pieces, this is my freedom slavery thing. You got that on one side and Ethereum and all the fucking crypto labs and democracy and parasitism and everything on the same side. And this is what they want. So final meme, blah, 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 fix the money, fix the individual, fix the world. So anyway, that's me. I hope that little nuance helped. And if you want to come see me afterwards, talk to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. And yes, it's inevitable.